Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 284 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on November 25th, 2025. Oh my goodness gracious, Thanksgiving's almost here. Man, I hope you're all either on your way to see your loved ones, maybe you're in the car or something, or you're already with them. And the very least, I hope you get to spend tomorrow with folks you care about. You're able to drink, eat, be merry, reflect on all the blessings you have in your lives. I think it's pretty important to do that regularly, but if you're going to do it once a year, tomorrow's the day. We have a really interesting episode for you today, I think. Should be pretty short, but man, it's pretty action-packed. We have a lot to give you today. Today we're showcasing a new silencer company. That's right, Battleborn Supply Co. They're actually a supporting member of the Pew Science Research Cooperative, and they have produced what we think that's a very interesting silencer technology. So today we're publishing two test reports from a program that we did with them. The first is their Whiskey Quebec 5.56 silencer, and the other is their Whiskey Quebec 5.56 Purged silencer. Very similar silencers. One is purged, one is not. And we'll talk about what that means on today's episode. Also, because we can and because it's awesome, you folks are getting hazard maps for both of these tests. The testing you are seeing today was performed on the 14.5-inch M4. Yeah, 5.56. So sit back, grab a beer. I know you can because it's Thanksgiving. And we'll go through the intro to report 6207, 6206, and hazard map brief 8.1.4. I don't know why I said those out of order, but here we are. Okay, let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new to the podcast, oh man, what a great time to be listening to this during the holidays. We're so glad to have you, sit down, relax, and we're going to talk about silencer physics. It's super awesome. There are timestamps in every episode description for you to skip wherever you would like. Real quick, before we get into the topics, I would like to tell you more about the companies that make this podcast possible and support our laboratory. The first is Legion Athletics, because nothing you do is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them. Legion Athletics can help you with that. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, vitamins, minerals. They don't have everything you need to support your fitness journey, but they have a lot of it. It can really help you out. Visit legionathletics.com. There's a link in the show notes. There's a link on the website. Use that link. It helps support Pew Science. When you go there and you do decide to buy something, and you will, use code word Pew Science. It's going to give you buy one, get one 50% off your entire shopping cart on your first order. And when you go back to buy more, which you will, that's just keep using the code Pew Science. It'll give you 20% cash back every time you buy something, which is pretty important because it can add up. You know what I mean? Creatine and their pre-workout is probably my most used stuff that I personally have from them, although I do use a lot of their vitamin supplements as well as their whey protein. I'm into that. LegionAthletics.com. Silencer Shop also sponsors this podcast. There's some good folks there. They've done a lot for the silencer industry, large and small, a lot for companies, a lot for dealers nationwide, and tons for consumers. You can use their kiosk to do your fingerprints and photos electronically. You can cut down on errors. You can simplify your silencer purchasing process. You get a money-back guarantee. It's pretty good. No transfer fees, no paperwork errors. Just you and your silencer with no drama. Truly the silencer ownership simplified. Also, Top Gun Range in Houston. They are a silencer shop dealer. If you're just passing through Houston and you want to shoot suppressed weapons at a controlled environment there's no riffraff, it's pretty safe, you can check out Top Gun Range, 15 lane indoor shooting range, largest firearm rental fleet in the entire state of Texas. Check them out at topgunrange.com. Also, Capital Armory is a sponsor. They are a pretty unique dealer in Texas. They're a very large dealer in Central Texas. They're out of Austin, and they really give you an option for purchasing your silencers that is a pretty unique twist. And if you live in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal, you can order a silencer sitting on your couch and have it shipped directly to your house. You don't even have to leave your house. Now, do I recommend being a shut-in? No, that's weird. But what if you work nights and you can't make it to the gun store when they're open? Capital Armory gives you a solution for that. I know a lot of folks that work shift work and they just can't, they're just not going to be able to make it in. And I think Capital Armory is going to help you get what you need, in a convenient way. Okay. Capital Armory, sponsorship directly to your door. Finally, the podcast and everything we do is brought to you by us, the Pew Science Laboratory. That's right. I'm the technical director of the lab. In the interest of public education, 284 freaking episodes, man. Keep doing this podcast, and we keep running a public research effort, and literally showcasing client test reports on our website, like today, to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. Sometimes we're showing internally funded research. Sometimes we're showing client-funded research. But everything we show is for the good of the silencer industry, and I do think it's working. If you go to our website at pewscience.com, you will see the suppression rating, which is the simplest and most accurate hearing safe rating for suppressed small arms. It's derived from the entire combustion event, from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is out of the silencer, all the mechanical operation has ceased from the weapons system. It's a true human inner ear response of that quantity. And what's really cool is we just added a new section to the silencer sound standard, section 8. And like I'm telling you, in the report today, you're going to see hazard maps where you're going to see the suppression rating spatially. Dude, we're so far ahead in this research thanks to your help and support. It's amazing. Okay, check it out. Check it all out 24/7, all available to the public, pewscience.com. And if you want even more data and you want to help us more and you want some skin in the game, dude, it's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You can get a membership to Pew Science. Just go to our website, join with a membership. You get more data in all the reports. You get extra member research supplements. You get the satisfaction of a job well done and supporting us. And frankly, you're cool. Plus, you can get a free direct line, to us. Like you can literally, I know you're paying like $8 a month or something, but you also get to talk to, professional engineers via email, free consulting base. It's basically free, right? Isn't that crazy? It is crazy. Also, if you don't want to join with a monthly fee, you don't have to. Donate one-time fee on the review page of the podcast page. And, if you don't want to give any money because times are tight and the economy is really crazy, don't give us any money. All you got to do is spread the word, let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome, and normalize the use of suppressed small arms through high-fidelity advanced research. That's right. We can do it together. I got 3 topics for you today, all right? We're going to hit intro to Report 206. We're going to hit intro to Report 207. Then we're going to hit intro to Hazard Map Brief 8.1.4. That's right. Let's start topic 1 at a time of 8 minutes and 6 seconds. All right, 1 second. Boom. Man, I'm stoked because I'm taking tomorrow off. Well, I'm taking most of tomorrow off from one of my jobs, and then I get to just work at the Pew Science Lab tomorrow. It's awesome. And then Thanksgiving, of course, it's going to be off completely. And then back to it Friday. Topic 1, Sound Signature Review 6206. Battleborn Supply Company, Whiskey Quebec 5.56. Yeah. 14.5-inch M4, mid-length gas, Inconel silencer, 3D printed silencer. And one thing that I think I've been speaking about a lot, I know some of you have in the industry too, or maybe it's a question you have. Are there folks out here using 3D printing to be innovative? Are folks using 3D printing to make things that are maybe just not machinable by traditional methods? Are they using it to its potential? And I would say yes. There are a lot of folks doing that now. Not a ton, but there are a lot. I think that this family of silencers, I think that this family of silencers from Battleborn Supply Co. is one of the examples of 3D printing being used to its potential. And so what we're going to do in this talk is this intro talk, we're going to explore, the intro to the performance of triply periodic minimal surfaces. So TPMS, and I know that's a mouthful, we'll go into it, okay? These TPMS baffle structures are really interesting. Okay, and I think it's really neat that they're doing this. And I guess before we get into it, I'd like to introduce the company, because they're a new company, relatively new to the space. I mean, they've been busy with their designs for years, but like many companies in the silencer space, their name is pretty new, and because it was new to us. So if it's new to us, then we kind of try to keep a pulse on what's going on. So if it's new to us, it's probably new to you as well. So Battleborn Supply Co., new to the consumer market. They've been working with Air Force Special Warfare for a while on R&D projects. So now they're moving into the consumer market to show you guys stuff, which I think is interesting. They got their start out of rural Nevada. That's where they're founded. They told me they're like, we're trying to bring some advanced design and engineering manufacturing jobs to that area. And, there are some in Nevada, but that's cool. As far as current company status, I know they're ramping up to meet demand. They work on a lot of new coatings and things like that. Right now, they have their 5.56 silencers. They have a silencer mount that comes with them that they make. They have some thermal management solutions, like a polymer ceramic silencer wrap they make. I know down the line they're working on 7.62 stuff, 9mm stuff. I think they're working on some shorter silencers. And the stuff we're talking about today, these Inconel Whiskey Quebec silencers, I'm pretty sure they have titanium options for those coming too. So that's something that's coming. One thing they told me that I can tell you, because they told me I can tell you, which is cool, is some stuff from behind the scenes. Is the feedback is that they are taking the Pew Science testing and analysis results that they've received from this program and what they've learned from that, and they're working on future models that will complement the Whiskey Quebec line from that, which is cool. Well, that's always great feedback for us, so we're pleased that they gave us that feedback, and we're also pleased they allowed us to share that with you, because it's awesome. So Ian and Adam, some guys from there, if you see them around, tell them hi. Thank them for trusting Pew Science to perform the work, to perform third-party lab evaluations for them, and we'll get into this. But I want to introduce the company because you might have seen them on our supporters page, because they're a advanced member of Pew Science. So they're a corporate supporter, and they've been working on silencers for a while. The Whiskey Quebec 5.56, it's full size 5.56 silencer, and I do mean full size. It is 2 inches in diameter, so it's pretty big, almost 7 inches long. So it's not super duper long. It's like, I have a bunch of silencers on my desk, so I can tell right now. Let me see. It's a tad longer than an Infinity, like a barely. It's crazy. It's Inconel. It's basically the same weight as an Infinity, but it's 2-inch diameter. So what was really wild, when I picked them up, I asked them, I was like, hey, wait, are these Inconel or titanium? They're like, no, they're Inconel. I'm like, wow, they feel lighter to me. And I was like, oh, it's because they're bigger, but they have a lower sexual density. We'll talk about that. But it's like the same weight as an Infinity, but when you pick it up, you feel like it's lighter because it's bigger. And the Infinity is more dense. It's the same. It's the same weight though. I guess this one's a little lighter than an Infinity. Isn't that interesting? I don't know. I just you don't pick that up when you read an article about it. Like you don't pick that up in specs. You would have to hold them. So I know it's hard for you to hold all silencers. It's like impossible. But anyway, the weight is the weight. I'm just saying. So 100% 3D printed Inconel, and it's right under 20 ounces with the mount installed, and it comes with a mount. It's interesting that you have a 2-inch diameter silencer that's almost 7 inches long that still is around the weight of the Infinity, because you would think it would be heavier. It's the core. The makeup of the core is why it is not heavier than it is, which is interesting. And I think this is where we really have to dive deep next episode, when we go into our typical traditional technical deep dive about the silencers. For those of you new to the podcast, we also always do that on the episode following the intro. Nonetheless, I do think I want to talk a little bit about the tech today, because if we don't talk it at least a little technically today, we're going to get too far behind and we'll get in over our heads. So the principal technology that Battleborn Supply Co. has patented and utilized in this family of silencers uses geometric features that are known as triply periodic minimal surfaces. Okay, triply periodic minimal surfaces, TPMS. Again, we can dig into it next time, but I'm going to give you a very quick and dirty rundown, a very quick and dirty explanation. So, TPMS surfaces are not like whiz-bang new. Okay, they're discovered in the 1800s, so it's a geometry that was discovered a long time ago. However, there's some things you can do with them that are new. So, they are minimal surfaces. So I'm talking about geometry, okay? I know this is nerd stuff, so you came to the right place. They're minimal surfaces. So what does that mean? That means they locally minimize their area. So what does that mean? Well, when you minimize surface area, you drop its stability to its state. So you can think of it. You can think of this like, how can I make a shape? How can I make a shape in the most efficient way to span a boundary? I think it's a good way to say that. And I've heard this. There's a common analogy used for these types of shapes and structures. If you were to blow a bubble with like a loop of wire. You ever do that when you're a kid? You take a coat hanger and you put it in a solution of glycerin and water, and you blow a bubble. Before you do that, and you see the soap film that spans the wire that forms the bubble membrane. That soap film will conform to the smallest possible surface area constrained to that wire. Just by nature, it will do that just by physics. That's because it's trying to minimize its surface area. It wants to be minimal. Now, it wants to be a minimal surface. But another interesting property of a minimal surface is that it doesn't have any mean curvature. It has like zero mean curvature. So that's a weird thing to say. But what it means is that if you take any point on the surface, it has equal curvature in opposite directions from that point. Okay, stick with me. So, horse saddle. You ever ride a horse? If you look at a saddle that you put on a horse, you look at it, you're going to see it curves up and down in one direction, right? And then it curves up in one direction and then it curves down in another direction, right? It's curving up front to back, and then it's curving down across the horse's back, right? So you have curve up and then you have curve down, right? So if you had a horse saddle that happened to be constructed from a minimal surface, the curve up and the curve down, so the curve up front to back and the curve down side to side, they would perfectly cancel each other and be net zero. If it was a minimal surface saddle, which it could be, but it'd be a weird looking saddle. Typically, horse saddles aren't perfectly minimal in their surface. Okay, I know this is very abstract for some of you. Some of you think very visually, some don't. It's okay. Most minimal surfaces that you'll see, like in common vernacular, and if you Google it, it'll look like a saddle kinda at every point, and you'll be like, "Oh, I understand what he's saying." Are you confused yet? No, it's okay. No, you should Google it. If you just Google like TPMS structures and you don't get the results for tire pressure monitoring system from cars, because it's the same acronym, you'll see, and you'll be like, oh, that's what they put in the silencers? That's wild. Yeah. I know this is a lot, but you came to the right place for this. I think, and I was trying to figure out a way to explain this to you. I think you need to know three things about TPMS structures when it comes to silencers, in my opinion. First thing, these shapes are found in nature, which is cool. Second thing, Battleborn Supply Company patented a way to make some really cool ones. Okay. Third thing, Heat transfer efficiency while maintaining flow is the name of the game, yes? We all know this. So as you can imagine, thinking through this, as you can imagine, there are people all over the world exploring the use of these types of geometries for heat transfer. Forget about silencers for a second. People all over the world are looking at TPMS structures for heat transfer. Because why? Well, 3D printing lets you build stuff that's hard to build normally. And what are you going to do with 3D printing if you really want to make stuff like this? You're going to try it. So it's really been, people really been looking at this for years now, several years now, as 3D printing cost has dropped. You understand? So what do we know about heat transfer in silencers, guys and girls? It's very important. What do we know about turbulence? Oh, it's very important. Why? Oh, it increases the efficiency of heat transfer. Oh my goodness. What does that mean? Well, TPMS geometry seems like a dang good thing to chase for the silencer game, especially for semi-automatic use. I mean, think about it. We're going to go deeper next episode, but think about what you're doing with these, what you could do with these surfaces, right? You're forcing hot combustion byproducts through a material matrix, and you're maximizing surface area with a geometrically efficient shape. If only there were a shape that was that was a minimal surface that did that and could fit into a unit area very efficiently. It's almost like it's in the name. Yeah, isn't that crazy? It's almost like this type of geometry was born for this. It's really interesting to me, just really serendipitous. And again, we're going to talk more next episode, but the gist of this tech and the performance you're going to see characterized in this report is that Battleborn Supply, they're shuttling blast loads into the silencer with their special mount, right? And here, this is crazy. They have a special mount. They're diffusing the blast load into TPMS arrays, and they're doing that from early time in the blast chamber all through the core. Okay. So as you traverse the bore of the core, you hit a few small reflectors, and that, my friends, is why we're still calling this a hybrid design. And frankly, you could almost call this a different type of flow-through technology. It's different from what OSS and Huxworks did. It's that wild. It is that complex. You could almost call it a flow-through variation. And keep in mind, I am not talking about like the flow through in the trade name. I'm talking about the tech. But it's not like that. And because the way it's designed or the way it's implemented, it's probably still a hybrid. And so that's the classification we're sticking with. And the really wild thing is how close we're getting to having to add more classes to this dang taxonomy, and also what's really exciting is that's really indicating progress is happening too, right? When you have to add names to classify things in your taxonomy, that means you're really pushing forward with tech. Very cool, right? I want to talk about that mount again. Right. So their mount, so it comes with a silencer. It's called the Flor de la Muerte, which means flower of death in Spanish. Now, first of all, even if you don't like the mount, I do want to say for the record, that name goes pretty hard. That's got to be one of the coolest mount names that I've ever heard. Like Flower of Death, that goes hard, dude. That's pretty cool. So I just think that's interesting. The mount is Inconel. It's a flash hider and brake combined, and it interfaces with their silencer. This is not a hub silencer. You will use their Flower of Death with it, and the silencer will work. You actually can't use a hub mount. I don't think. Now, are they going to make their Flower of Death hub compatible? I don't know. But this is, I'm looking at the silencer. It's a 2-inch freaking diameter. It's not, hub is like smaller than that. Anyway, so this is like a half 28 mount, and then Flower of Death, and then you screw the silencer onto it. Regarding performance, and again, deep dive next time, this silencer actually does pretty well. It has a very unique signature. I would say it's a very unique signature. Very high early time flow rate. This non-purged version that we tested first It does have a somewhat lower late time flow rate than the purged model. So for context, and to set a little more expectations for you, it's not like the non-purged model is high back pressure. This model, it's not that it's high back pressure. On the contrary, it flows pretty dang well, probably for a lot of people. But I do think this non-purged model, I think, is going to be something folks like, especially with tuning. You gotta keep in mind how overgassed this M4 is. And I want you to check out the hazard map in the report. So in report 206 for this silencer, there is also a hazard map. Yeah, we're doing that now so far. I think that hazard map is going to give you a really good feel for the ejection port blast hazard. So for those of you who really want to visualize that on the M4, it's going to show you that, okay? That's important. So I think, this silencer did pretty well. I mean, are the ratings like record-breaking? Well, no. Especially for the size. No, they're not. But what the silencer is doing with the tech, the tech is new, and what it's doing, I think, shows a lot of promise. I think it's really interesting. The physics are just really interesting to me. And one thing that's really cool about this is that in our test program, we got to evaluate both their non-purged and their purged unit. So we literally got to do a parametric evaluation experimentally with keeping the early time flow rate constant and only varying the late time flow rate, because the proximal sections of the two silencers are the same. Very cool. So this to me is a case study. Like it's an OG awesome Pew Science research type of thing. That we love things like this, and the fact that this is even happening even at the end of 2025, almost 6 years into our life here. So amazing. Really great opportunity for research to really understand how these silencers work. Okay, so let's talk about what happens and what makes the purge model tick. In the intro to that report, let's do topic 2 at a time at 27 minutes and 16 seconds. Okay, yeah, this is really cool. So topic 2, it's the same type of silencer, but it's a purged model. And so this is essentially the higher flow rate brother to the silencer we just discussed. And again, both silencers have high early time flow rate. But what if you increase the late time flow rate? Okay, so you can look at the performance differentials. So in the second report, so this is report 207. And now, so when you think about the purged version of the silencer, it's essentially identical, except for it has two kind of changes. It has some tweaks to the flow paths and how they terminate at the distal end. So what Battleborn Supply Co. did, or what they have done here, they've allowed some proportions of the TPMS flow and the axial bore flows to exit the silencer through a radial vent array that's located around the exit aperture of the silencer. Okay, the exit, when I say exit aperture, more succinctly, around the exit aperture of the bore of the silencer. Okay, so in plain English, you got the hole where the bullet comes out, they have a vent array circle around that. You feel me? Okay. So like I said earlier, the early time, or 100 times, the early time flow rate in both of the silencer models is identical. So that in Pew Science parlance, that means alpha is constant and you're dropping omega. Okay, so this is going to do a couple of things. You get slightly less bolt speed and some less gas, all other things equal, when you move to the purged model. That means if you use an identical gun and you shoot both silencers, the purged model is going to give you a better operator experience. And that is actually quantitatively reflected in the shooter's ear suppression ratings. And for the purged model, it does increase, even on this overgassed M4. Yeah. So now something that's really important to understand is that with this particular technology, and many others, when you vent more blast load out of the distal end, you will increase the severity of the hazard field forward of the silencer. Okay? Look at the hazard map. I think you will see that here. Again, we put a silencer map in this one too, in report 207 as well. Okay, there's a silencer map for both silencers today for you, or tomorrow. Yeah, today for you, tomorrow for me. There's a nuance. A nuance regarding the purged model is that it does scale slightly better to short barrel lengths. I think you lose a little less efficiency with the purged model as you ramp up the pressure input. And due to the way that I think the TPMS structures work in a silencer, to me that makes at least some sense conceptually. I would think that, especially in this model, because I've seen cutaways, I think that when you have some distal pressure relief to enhance flow around a certain section of the silencer, I think you stand to ramp up your efficiency as pressure increases more if you didn't. And I'm not saying these silencers get quieter with shorter barrels. What I'm saying is if you relieve stagnation at the distal end or distal region, you can lose less efficiency with a higher flow, if that makes sense. I think this will become more clear when we discuss it next week in the technical talk. Okay, and also I have the fortuitous benefit of having a test program on different weapons that we did behind the scenes. So I cheated a little bit, okay, because I already know some answers. Now, it's probably a good intro to this class of silencers, the Whiskey Quebec 5.56 family for now. It is important, that they did patent these structures. I know that some people are going to look in this and be like, oh, I know how to make a gyroid in my CAD software. I just put the cosine formula. It's like, yeah, but this isn't that. The report will be live in the morning. Go check it out. They're both reports. I think these are silencers. Let me give you some practical tidbits. I think these are silencers that I imagine I think people are going to be mag dumping with a lot, like these Inconel ones. And I think these silencers can probably take a beating. So Inconel, full size, they actually perform a lot like an RC2 with less blowback, although I think the hazard fields are in the forward hemisphere not as focused as an RC2. I think the RC2 does focus blast a little more because it is has a much lower distal flow rate. I think you'll see that in the hazard maps. Remember, our first hazard map report ever, you can see the RC2 on the Mark 18. So I think that, I know it's not on the M4, but I think you're really gonna be able to understand what I mean visually. With that comparison, I think it acts like an RC2. I think the non-purged model does behave somewhat like an RC2 with way less back pressure, which is interesting. I think if you ever get this chance to look in these silencers, it's one of the slickest geometries you're going to see. I think it's crazy looking. They look really cool. If you have a chance, do some reading about TPMS structures if you can. I know several folks have looked into using these type of geometries for silencers. I'm pretty sure folks have tried to use gyroids, which are those are a pretty simple minimal surface. But like I said, these silencers are not using gyroids, okay? Using a different type of shape or surface. So I'm going to leave you with that for those two big reports. But big picture, I want to reiterate the difference between the two models, and we're going to do that in a very simple way with the hazard map brief, which has a map for both of the silencers in it. Okay, we'll talk about that in topic 3 at a time of 34 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay, man, happy Thanksgiving. We're going to get you to your turkey pronto here. Topic 3, yeah, silencer hazard map brief 8.1.4. Isn't that crazy? We already have 4 freaking, did I number this wrong? Is it 4? Are we already on 4? There's no way. Hold on a second. Go to the website thing to make sure I'm not messing this up. There's no way. Yeah, 4. Oh my God. Huh. Okay. Yeah, hazard map brief 8.1.4. just in case the analytical test reports are way too long for you, maybe you don't have time to dig into them before you eat turkey. Maybe you got pumpkin pie and football and wine on the brain, and that's okay. No problem, dude. You hit this hazard map brief, you get a succinct look at how the Whiskey Quebec 5.56 silencers, purged and non-purged, project hazards to personnel spatially. They're pictures. Pictures are good. You don't even have to read it. Just look at the two pictures. You're like, oh, I see what that one's doing. I see what that one's doing. You can put it on your phone, put the two pictures side by side. People can look at it at, Thanksgiving. You're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'm telling you, short and sweet. We're still filling out the reaction to these hazard map briefs. I got to see what people think about them. I mean, so far, they're probably the most popular and well-received thing we've ever published since we launched the standard and the suppression rating. I'd see maybe since the rankings. I think launching the ranking section was a huge deal. But I think these hazard maps are people are liking them. So yeah, section 8, advanced research. First section is 8.1, hazard maps. This is the fourth one. You got hazard maps for both cans in here, non-purged and purged. They're right next to each other. Examine them. You look at this M4 rifle. You look at it top down in hazard space. You know it's overgassed, right? And you can see how the stability index drops with the purged unit. When you look at these two hazard maps, you're going to see, you look at the stability index. I know it's just a number, but you're going to learn. I think you're going to learn to understand more about jet stability in the models we're making, because you're going to see the shape of the hazard field forward of the shooter, and you're going to see how, as an omega metric from a silencer changes, what that means for momentum transfer in real life. Okay, or at least in the models, and you'll see that it does track with real life. So when you look at these two maps and you look at the details, and you see, there's like almost forward bloom in the hazard field for the purged unit. Why? Well, because it's literally purging blast load more. And then you look at the purged map and you see the ejection port blast is less intense. And you're like, oh, that's literally what the suppression rating was telling us. But now this is giving us a visual of that. And then you start to think, then you go into that like debate, right? Where you're like, oh, they made the silencer less restrictive, so it's louder up front and it's like party in the back. It's more mulletized. It's more less risk in the ejection port. And then you think, well, are you robbing Peter to pay Paul in this situation? And I mean, from a 10,000 foot view, kinda. With this particular series, kind of, sure. But an intangible from the diagrams is that the shooter may have less gas in their face too. And I think if you tune the gun, maybe you get you will get a different answer than these maps too. So that would be interesting to explore, wouldn't it? I think during rapid fire, you'll still get less gas with the purged model. I think we found in our test program, we found pretty low gassing to the shooter with both models, but the purged, I think we found it to be superior. Really good scalability with the purged unit. I think I mentioned that last topic. I think feeding at high pressure is interesting just due to the way it works. And I think when you look at these hazard maps of these two silencers, and you see them both side by side, and you think about risk space to humans, which is what the suppression rating contours show you, you're going to see that behind the shooter, it's very similar, but you got to consider what's happening adjacent to the shooter. And whether you pick the standard model or the purge model, if you pick any of them, but if you're interested in these silencers, if you had to make a choice, I think you could use these maps to help you with that. Knowing, going in I'd qualify that with knowing both of these are on an untuned gun. Okay, then you got to consider firing schedule, blowback considerations, all that stuff. Along with, do you want to tune your gun? Do you not want to tune your gun? All that good stuff. Okay, you see what I mean? But hopefully, at the very least, I hope these graphical images, these hazard maps, I hope they help you. Okay, I hope actually this very short episode but the ton of report data that you get today, I hope this information gives all of you the most possible information for these two silencers. And again, I want to thank Battleborn Supply Co. for trusting us to perform this work. This was part of a major program that we really worked hard on. They trusted us to do it from beginning to end, and I think it was fruitful. I think we learned a lot. I think they learned a lot, and I hope you guys do too. Okay, so check out Report 206, Report 207, Hazard Map Brief 8.1.4. There's going to be links in the show notes for everything, no matter what platform you're on, wherever you listen to the podcasts. Okay, do that, read them, look at the pictures. Colors are great. Let it marinate, drink some beer, eat some turkey, show folks over Thanksgiving. Wow your extended family with your knowledge about blast physics and human hazards. They're going to love you for that. And be the hero they deserve. Okay? We're going to be back after the holiday to do a deep dive on the technology in the Whiskey Quebec 5.56 silencers. So until then, stay safe, have fun, eat a lot, be merry, hug your family, and I will talk with you folks again soon. All right, bye.